So just not really going to talk much about me. This is me. I've been working with Google Ads now for 12 years or so, running the agency. We have Christa on the call as well. Christa, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody is well and safe during these very unprecedented times. And I'm super excited to be joining Karl today on this webinar. Very excited to see so much interest amongst a lot of different countries we have present today. And just to give you a little bit of background about myself, so I'm an EMEA Partnerships Manager for apps at Google, originally from Germany. I've been with Google for around 3.5 years and started working with performance agencies, specifically in the German market, and then switched over to the app partnerships team, where I'm working with agencies like ePPC and Karl to help them build out their app capabilities. And before that, I was actually working in Shanghai for a little while for advertising agencies. So I'm also particularly excited about talking to you about creatives and the importance of creatives for app campaigns today.
Cool. So without further ado, jumping straight into the content part. So we're going to talk about what's happening in the last months, what has been happening, and how that impacts app advertising. And then we're going to do a quick intro on the main app channels and talk about our recent case study as well on Sync Tuition, which you might have heard about as well. It's a very cool app. So what are people doing? They're using apps. So time in apps has grown by around 20% in Q1. So this is from App Annie. If you haven't seen that research, it's a really cool research doc. They've got all the findings from Q1 on what's been happening. To present a few things from that report. And actually in Italy, where the quarantine started earlier than in most other European and Western countries, its time in apps is actually up by 30% for non-gaming apps as well. So especially for non-gaming apps as well, there's been a lot of growth recently. So, and they're also downloading a lot more. So we have seen a 15% increase in downloads, especially on iOS, 15%, and on Google Play 5% or so. So these numbers, I think, don't add up here, but I think the total should be 15%. In health and fitness, biggest jump, 40% more downloads. Education, business, over 30% more downloads as well. In the last quarter, and this is the whole quarter, right? So if we would look at March data, these numbers would be even more drastic. And they're not only gaming, like we said. So a lot of app marketing involves around gaming. They're the most sophisticated advertisers for gaming, for app marketing. But at the moment, for Google Play, 55% of all downloads, it's non-gaming, and on iOS it's 65%. So actually, gaming makes up less than half of the downloads. So, and where are they spending money? So if we saw that actually from downloads, 71% are coming from Android phones. The spend is coming from iOS phones. So even though there's a lot less iPhones than Android phones out there, then actually the spend on iOS is twice almost as on Google Play. So per user, you can calculate yourself how much more valuable an iOS user tends to be on average. And spend-wise, though, if we're looking at spend, then on iOS it's 65%. Makes up gaming makes up 65%, and on Google Play it's actually 85%. So I bet if you haven't been working with apps, these numbers can be quite surprising. So that's also why if you're looking for for experts in app marketing, probably your friends who develop gaming apps are the ones who are quite advanced. So, and revenue-wise as well. So, what's happening with revenue-wise? So, over 2/3 of apps have seen their revenue increase. So, and some apps have seen drastic increases in revenue, and 1/3 of apps have seen a decrease in revenue. So, if you think about normal businesses, then these numbers would probably be quite the opposite. So, but on apps, there's quite a bit of more revenue around. What else are people doing? They are on YouTube. But what are advertisers doing? They have stopped their campaigns. So if you're an agency, or if you're running, if you have a company that's sort of a traditional company running display ads, YouTube ads, chances are that the campaigns have been paused. So the YouTubers are pretty sad about it, or pretty desperate even. They're losing their revenue as well, even though the traffic on YouTube is up. The CPMs are down. That means that cost for YouTube ads is down. But that's for app advertisers, that's a good thing, because a lot of the downloads, a lot of the users actually come from YouTube. So this is another opportunity for app advertisers to make the most out of the situation. So, and this stats. These come from, I think it was SimilarWeb. Maybe Google can refute those or confirm, but on app, actually, they were saying that YouTube traffic is down by 5%, that people are using more desktop. I'm not sure if I believe that, but this is what one research showed. Same for Facebook as well, that traffic is up by 27%, but only plus 1% on app. Presumably, the logic is that people are home, so they're using desktop more. But I'm not so sure about that. So app usage definitely is still very high as well. So, but CPMs definitely have dropped. So this is a statistic by CPM by countries. From BetaAlgo. It's app marketing tool that you can use. So they collect. They have a lot of advertisers on their platform whose CPMs they've been monitoring. So this is a collection of Google, Facebook, Snapchat, Apple search ads. So CPMs have decreased by almost 60% in some cases. So and it's similar story for all countries. So there's no country where CPMs have gone up. This is quick intro on what's been happening in the app world in the recent weeks and months. So if you're convinced now that, okay, I need to build an app, I need to run app ads, or if you have an app, you need to run ads, then what are the options? How does it work? How can you do that? Let's look into that. So Christa will talk a bit more in depth about Google App Ads, but I will give my point on that as well. And then we will look at Facebook ads and Apple search ads briefly as well. So before we actually start talking about how the app campaigns work, first thing is you need tracking. If you don't have tracking in place, then you might as well not run any campaigns. So tracking, super important for app campaigns. So we saw before how much more valuable, for example, the iOS users can be from Android users. But it's not only iOS versus Android. There are Android users who are a lot more valuable than other Android users as well. So you might have people who are the kinds of people who regularly buy apps, make in-app purchases, and you have other people who never make any purchases and never basically pay for anything on the App Store as well. So, and if you're optimizing for just for installs, then you don't you're not discriminating between those people who never make a purchase versus who make a lot of purchases all the time. So if you have tracking in order, this will help you get a lot better traffic. We'll talk more about this a bit now as well. In theory, if you really don't have any tracking, you can run a Google App Ads on Android because it's Google. So Google Play and Google Ads connect seamlessly, so you can measure the downloads from Google App Ads in Google Play. On Apple Search Ads, the same. Apple products, so you can measure iOS installs without a tracking provider. But that's just installs. You don't want to stop with installs. There's where analytics providers come in. So my suggestion is to look at Firebase. It's a free tool built by Google as well. So especially works especially smoothly with Google Ads campaigns. So you can set up all the events, audiences, etc. in Firebase, and use those events in Google Ads for optimizing your campaigns. So setting up these events as conversions is not as straightforward as setting up your, let's say, goals for your website in Google Analytics. It does require you to work with your developer, but it's definitely worth the effort. So you can also use some other provider as well. There's other tools out there like Branch, AppsFire, Adjust, etc. So if you don't want to use Firebase, there's other options as well. You can connect them to Google Ads as well. But Firebase is free. The others are paid. So and they have a slightly different use case as well. So I'd suggest having Firebase plus another measurement partner running in parallel. So, but Google App Ads then, quickly jumping into App Ads. Why is it so different that we need to talk about it? So targeting is fully automatic. This is what sets Google App Ads apart. You have very little control there. If you're used to running Google Ads, then you know that you can specify all the little details on targeting wise, but on Google App Ads, there's no keywords, no placements, no in-market audiences, etc. You just set the language, location, how much you want to pay per day, your budget, your bid, and you set your creative, so text, image, and video, and the Google AI works all the magic for you. So this is very hard for Google Ads people to get used to in the beginning, but I'd say that this is the way the campaigns are moving. The normal search campaigns. This is the direction the normal search campaigns are moving towards as well. So this kind of gives you a glimpse into the future, I would say. I don't have any specific information around that, but Google Ads campaigns are really hard to set up. So and Google has been working to make that easier and easier, but it's still very hard. So App Ads makes it a little bit easier to set up the campaigns. So, but you can still, they still work and they look the same as your normal Google Ads. You can run, you can show the ads on Search, Google Play, Search Partners, Display Network, apps, so through AdMob, on YouTube, and more. So you can use videos, you can use text, images, all that, and Google builds out all these creatives for the different channels, and voila, it's kind of like magic. So you just set the bid. Few tips. So we talked about difference in apps as well. So actually, 49% of apps, or half of the apps, are uninstalled within the first 30 days. And on Android, that's actually 60%. On iOS, it's 30%. And half of those happen within the first 24 hours. So again, if we're optimizing for installs, then these installs, you might be paying for those installs, and they might be going in the trash almost immediately. So, but if you tell the system to optimize for installs, that's what it's going to do. So you can't blame the system really for giving you crappy users if that's what you're telling the system to do. So if you want to get installs and the installs are not working, you want to get cheap installs, Google can get you the cheap installs, Facebook can get you the cheap installs, but cheap install doesn't equal a paying user. Tip number 2, you need to have patience. So results can be bad at first. So because there's no targeting, there's you just set the budget and bid, and Google does the legwork. So it starts working towards finding your ideal users. It takes some time, so you have to test a little bit here, test some audience there, some keywords here, some videos there, and it takes a bit of time. So the first results can be bad, but don't be discouraged by that. Usually they do improve by quite a bit. If you do have only, like, let's say, you want to run a 1-week campaign for a limited cost, then probably you're better off running Facebook ads rather than Apple search, Google app ads. So this is stay in for the long game. Start the campaigns, and if at first the results are not quite there, give it some time. They will improve. Then the campaigns need data. So if you're an app, you have the luxury of targeting. Usually, you have the luxury of targeting multiple locations. So the best practice is that your daily budget should be around 50 times your cost per install, and for events, it should be around 10 times cost per event. So if you, let's say, you want to get a paying user for 10 euros, then your daily budget should ideally be 100 euros. So the system would have enough data to work with and find those users. So because it's fully automated, fully based on data, you need to have a lot of data there. And if you're now thinking about, okay, I have 100 euros for 100 different countries, that adds up very quickly. So if you want to target multiple countries, the best practice is to group countries together. So you could have different tiers of countries. So for example, let's say Nordics, you have Nordics grouped together in one, and the CPMs are very similar there as well. So it makes sense. Users are also pretty similar, so it makes sense to group them together. Whereas if you put, say, Nordics and India together, the cost per install is probably going to be a lot cheaper in India, so most of your traffic is going to be coming from there as well. If, however, you're targeting paid users, then it might actually even work because the system is optimizing for the paying users. So and don't limit yourself to only English-speaking countries. If your app is only in English, there are English speakers all around the world. So as we have a lot of people on the call from many different countries, you should not be really surprised about this. But I still see that people are a bit cautious if you're thinking about targeting the masses, let's say. But CPMs and CPVs actually might be lower in outside the main English-speaking countries, so US, UK, Australia. But there are quite a few English speakers out there, so you can use English as a language targeting and use your English ads, and it works. So jumping onto Facebook now. So this is what a Facebook ad looks like. So Facebook ads, app ads work similarly to normal Facebook ads, just that instead of driving traffic to your website or Facebook page, you're driving them to the Google Play Store or App Store. Similarly to normal Facebook campaigns, these can the ads can show in the Facebook news feed, stories, Instagram feed, stories, etc. You can also optimize for installs or in-app events, just like for Google Ads as well. And you also need to set up the events and the installs. So targeting the same as for normal Facebook campaigns. I'm not going to go into details on how Facebook campaigns work because that would be a very long talk. But if you know how Facebook ads work, it's pretty similar to the app ads as well. The assets required, same text, image, video. So I want to emphasize the video part. Christa is going to talk about that more as well. Video really works well with app ads, so you need to have a good video both on Facebook and Google. Tracking, so you need to have tracking in place for Facebook as well. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't link with Firebase, so you need to either implement the Facebook SDK or link it with a Just AppsFlyer branch or some other tool. That can be a bit messy, but again, it pays off in the long run, because just getting installs, an install doesn't really mean anything. You want to get the user that actually takes the required action that you're going for. And again, make sure you optimize for events. I don't know how many times I've said that already, so hopefully you'll remember this by the end. Apple search ads, how it works. You're using the you're on your iPhone, you're on looking for an app on the App Store, and an ad pops up. So if you like Google search ads, you're going to love Apple search ads as well. It works very similarly to Google search ads. You can choose the keywords you like. You even have match types there as well, just like in with Google ads, Google search ads as well. And then you just drive traffic to the App Store listing. Targeting is keywords or search match, which is sort of similar to DSA campaigns in Google search. You don't need any extra creatives. The creatives are taken automatically from the App Store imagery that you have for your app on the App Store. And you don't need any extra action to track installs, but you also don't have any data for events inside the Apple Search Ads interface itself. So you need to set up a third-party measurement tool to see how many events you're actually getting as well. And they're not available in all countries as well. So most of the bigger countries are there, but not all the countries. So, and I realize I'm running out of time here, so I'm just quickly going to go over the Synctuition case study as well. So Synctuition is a meditation app that has been in the works for around 10 years, and they launched it at the end of 2018 with the goal of launching campaigns all around the world, but first starting with the US. And their main goal initially was also cheap installs. Like most apps that start out, they want to go for the cheap installs. But quickly, the focus moved to cost per free trial once we realized that this actually makes way more sense. So another thing, once we had the campaign set up, was we tried different creative themes. So with app ads, it's all about creatives. So because you don't have the targeting, the creatives are incredibly important. So you should try shorter videos, longer videos, various kinds of text and images. Don't use just your standard TV ads as videos. You can use longer videos as well. These work quite a bit. And the text ads that you use, the text creative part, these actually function a little bit like keywords as well. So Google reads the theme out of the text that you write. So this is also really important for app ads. So we gradually started increasing the budgets once the campaign started running. And once we had USA cracked, we moved on to other markets. So many companies start from cheaper countries with cheaper CPMs, and then eventually move to the US. But actually, because their goal was really the paying users in the US, we felt that the learnings might not be actually that applicable from another country to US. So we went straight to the US without any sort of baggage from learnings from other countries. And then remarketing to close the loop as well. So you have remarketing for apps as well. So you can target, for example, people who have downloaded the app but haven't started the trial. So just to, because many people actually don't open the app as well. So there's around 20, forget what the exact number was, but 20% of people who download an app and actually never open it. So remarketing helps you capture these people as well. And then Facebook was next. So, okay, a lot of text here. I thought I changed this part. But what we did was we ran an app install campaign first with lower budget without having proper events set up. And we got cheap installs, but we didn't get really the in-app events. So the quality of users was really poor. So, and every time we increased the budget, the results took a plunge. So we tested different learnings. We got some different creatives. We got some different learnings, but didn't really work until we got the SDK implemented. Once we got the SDK and the events implemented, so we could actually optimize for events, this made a major difference. So Facebook algorithm, Facebook robots, really smart, just like with Google. So if you give them the data, they will find you those paying users. So, and one learning there as well is the videos that really worked really well on Google Ads didn't necessarily work so well on Facebook. So try out different videos as well. Don't just reuse the same ones that you have for one channel. And then the same story, increasing budgets gradually and expanding internationally and continue testing. So I made up, I think, for a little bit of the lost time from the beginning. But this is actually the last slide. So results. So now they have around 3 million users in less than a year and a half. They're in the top 5 meditation apps in the US, and they're still profitable as well, just by making sure to optimize for the paying users, not the installs. And yeah, you can read the case study on Think with Google as well, if you haven't done so already. So, and if you haven't used the app, go ahead and try the app. If you're in Estonia, it's actually free for the Corona crisis period. So, because it's an Estonian app, they made it for free for the next coming months in Estonia. So go try it out. Otherwise, if you're not in Estonia, use the free trial. And that's it from my side. Handing over to Christa now.
Thank you, Karl. I think it might be easier if I just present my screen, Karl, if that's okay for you. So yeah, I can just do that now. So I hope you can all see my screen. Yeah, I'm very happy to talk to you about Google App Campaigns today. Before jumping into how Google App Campaigns work, and especially how creatives work within those campaigns, I actually wanted to address 2 of the most common questions I get in my work with clients. So the first one being, why do I, as an app, actually why should I invest into paid app installs if I could theoretically just rely on organic downloads? So just like with any other marketing activity, say if you're already familiar with search engine marketing, we usually want to see that in a good marketing mix, any paid activity would also lead to an organic uplift in anything else that you do. And App Annie actually published a very nice study around this in their State of Mobile report from 2019. And they saw that there will be around 1.5 times additional organic installs per paid install on average. So of course, depending on your app, depending on your app rating, depending on your business model, and also on the category you're in, this might differ. And on the right side, you can actually see highlighted in bold a few of the categories that particularly benefit very well from paid installs. That would be something like lifestyle, just like Synctuition, meditation apps, yoga apps, anything around racing, which might be a bit more seasonal, but also around transportation, maybe also post or pre-COVID, around e-mobility would benefit a lot from investing in paid app installs, and that then being reflected in the organic downloads. And the second question I get a lot is actually around why should I, as a web business, promote an app? So if you're a business that purely relies on the app, I hope it should be a no-brainer that you should promote your app. However, just giving you an example, around 80–90% of the clients I personally work with don't just simply rely on an app, but are web-first clients that have an app that runs on the side. A lot of the times it's actually an app that is slowly withering away in the App Store and hasn't really been paid much attention to up until we open up that conversation around why it could be beneficial for that business to also promote the app. And there are 4 categories we usually look at when we talk about the benefits of an app for a web-first client. That could be around positive impact on the bottom line, so generally more frequent visits, not only, for example, if they have a web page, but then also in the app. We also see a higher customer lifetime value since you can bind the customers more to your business through an additional contact point like an app. You can also position yourself stronger if you are in a very competitive market landscape, gain more market share, and ensure that you as a brand are being seen. And last but not least, as mentioned earlier, it is beneficial for the organic uplift, whether it's around search incrementality, so people not only looking for your brand in the App Store, but also, for example, just in the normal search engine from Google. And also it can impact on better app rankings. So overall, we do see a high benefit for both pure app clients, but also for web-first clients who have an app on the side. Now, let's have a look at why Google App Campaigns. And if you're already familiar with other Google Ad products, you might know that we have a few different ad solutions, such as specifically dedicated to the search engine, maybe to the display network, but also to YouTube. And the great thing about Google App Campaigns is actually that it has the largest reach across all of our advertising solutions. And this is because we can target everything across search, Gmail, display, YouTube, but just setting up a simple Google App Campaign, and the algorithm will then guide you through where you could find your most valuable users. And if we look at the general marketing lifecycle of an app, we can see that any app actually will go through the same type of lifecycle. So in the very first stage, perhaps in the pre-launch and the launch stage, you will want to ensure that you have a very good user volume. So you want to ensure that there's awareness of your brand, awareness of your app, and you want to generate the downloads from users. Then as a second step, you would like to look at monetization. So ensuring that whatever capabilities you have within the app, whether it is you want to drive subscriptions perhaps or in-app purchases, that is actually being done by the users that you acquired through the downloads. Then as a third step, once you have had this volume and also hopefully are profitable with the app, you want to ensure that you avoid as much churn as possible so that users stay within your app, have a high lifetime value with your app, and then you could perhaps also use this as a way to cross-sell certain services or products that you have within the app. And with our Google App Campaigns, we can actually target users at every stage of this marketing life cycle. So starting from generating this volume, then making sure that it is profitable, but then also ensuring that users stay engaged and we avoid the churn. And as Karl said, a lot of people, and you might know it from your own behavior as well, I certainly know it for myself, you want to try an app, you download it, then you forget about it, and it just never gets opened. So we also have a product ensuring that those people who have downloaded the app, they get re-engaged and get reminded that the app exists, and hopefully you can monetize that as well. Overall, we would say that there are 3 different types of best practices we would like to look at whenever we work with agencies and also with clients at Google side. So first of all, we want to ensure, as Karl already mentioned, that you have proper measurement and tracking in place. And it is really true that if you don't have that in place, there's really no point in you running those campaigns, because you will never be able to optimize and will never be able to actually see what value those ads actually bring to your overall marketing mix. So have measurement and tracking in place. Then the second point is creative strategy. So as Karl already said as well, with Sync2Ition, a big part of the strategy was to optimize the creatives, and I will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And the third point is that you need sufficient data and time. And I actually saw a question earlier in the chat regarding what would be a good amount of data to give the algorithm to optimize. And we will be talking about bits and budgets and those best practices a little bit more in the webinar in a couple of weeks' time. But just as a general guidance, we would like to see that there will be around 100 installs per day with the given bits and budgets you put into the campaign, or 10 events that the algorithm can work towards in order to create that volume from which the algorithm can learn from. But more to come next week. So for today, we would like to focus on the creative strategy. And the reason why creatives are so important with Google App Campaigns is because, as also mentioned earlier, Google App Campaigns are a fully automated solution. The good thing is for you as a company that wants to promote their app, there's actually very little manual work you need to do. So you don't need to sit there like with some, I guess, like the initial Google search campaigns where you had to really adjust the bits and budget and the keywords very regularly. You don't really need to do this with our automated app campaigns. However, what you can do are, for example, things like ensuring that your campaign optimizes towards the right event. This could be, for example, ensuring that users log in, users set up an account, they subscribe, etc. You also want to ensure that you have the right bit that the algorithm can optimize towards. You also want to ensure that you have the right budget. And last but not least, you want to ensure you have the right creatives. So those 4 things are actually, it's a very limited number of things that you can do with Google App Campaigns. Hence, it is even more important that the few levers you have to actually optimize your campaign are perfectly put in place, and you have a strategy in order how you want to optimize it. And the way you want to think about creatives in Google App Campaigns is actually a little bit different to, especially if you're maybe familiar to more traditional types of creatives, saying a TV ad, for example, or also a finished banner. It's not something that needs to be completely finished that you feed to the algorithm, but rather you feed the algorithm individual assets. That could be text assets like certain call to actions, or also descriptions of the app. These are video assets. This could be something that you're already using maybe for other campaigns, and also image assets. So this includes your logo and also any type of image you would like the users to see. And based on that, the algorithm will mix and match the types of assets you put into the system, and hopefully then find the perfect combination of assets to then target the right users at the right time. And the reason why it is so important to think in assets is, as you can see on this slide, different assets fit into different parts of our Google properties. As mentioned, Google App Campaigns has a very, very large scale, and that is the benefit. You don't need to wonder where's my ad being played, where is my ad being shown. It is shown across a lot of different properties, but you need to ensure that through the right assets, these ads can actually be shown to users. So let's say, as a simple example, you don't have any text in your ad. So you don't feed the algorithm any description, any call to action, no text at all. What that would then lead to is, for example, that you would not be able to be shown in the Gmail app install ads. That means that you're missing out on a chunk of inventory that could be very valuable to you. And the goal for you as a company that promotes the app should always be to reach as much inventory as possible, especially the type of inventory where you think your user base is, the high value users are, but perhaps the competitors are not there yet because they don't have a certain asset covered. So really, really important that you think across different types of assets and that have all of these assets in place to be able to optimize your campaign. And this is just an example of how the different type of assets could be shown to users. Again, if we talk about just video, we want to ensure we both have portrait video, but also landscape video, because different inventory will prefer different assets. And this way you can ensure that you really can be part of the user journey at the most relevant time. Now, if we think about different themes, the good thing about Google App Campaigns, and that is something that is fairly new, I think, Karl, you still remember the times when we didn't have that. So we are actually able to cluster different creatives and also bids and budgets according to different ad groups. This is an example from Headspace, also meditation app, and the way they, for example, clustered their different creatives and messaging is according to themes. So meditation for sleep, meditation for stress, and more generic. This way you can also, again, give the algorithm enough food and data to ensure that you have the right messaging for the right users and you can optimize as quickly and efficient as possible. I also wanted to share a quick cheat sheet with you guys. I think you will be sent these slides anyway, so definitely use it as a cheat sheet. These are the types of dimensions we are looking for when we look at different image asset dimensions. And the most important one that is highlighted here as well is landscape image, actually, because it does reach the most inventory. So if you really don't have any in-house resources to resize creatives, definitely ensure that you have landscape image in place. And in the ideal case scenario, all of them, but if nothing else, landscape image is the way to go. And I also wanted to share an example with you from a client that used a good creative strategy to optimize their campaigns with Google. And this example is from Karl Pae. It's a Spanish fintech company that had a very narrow targeting. So they only wanted to target people between 16 to 25, so a fairly young target audience. And as Karl already mentioned, actually within Google App Campaigns, you cannot target a specific age bracket, because the idea is that the algorithm will automatically find the most valuable users for you. However, what Rebellion did is they guided the algorithms so they would actually find those 16 to 25-year-olds that they saw as their most valuable customers. And the way they did it is through a workshop with Google where they identified certain creative themes, certain types of people, places, activities that would be particularly relevant to this target audience of 16 to 25, and also messages and benefits of the app that would resonate very, very well with this young target audience. And one example is just the picture here on the slide of very vibrant colors using young people, and just ensuring that those people you want to target might feel like they're being spoken to. And this is just a very good example of how how, despite not being able to put in a proper age bracket into Google App Campaigns, you can give the algorithm the right data and the right food, so it actually guides itself. And last but not least, I actually want to leave you off with a few questions, which we usually use as thought starters for you guys. So whenever we work with any app clients, we would like them to think about a few questions first. So things like, what are the goals you want to achieve with app promotion? You would be very surprised if you knew how many clients I work with and also partners we work with that don't have a good understanding of what the actual goal is. So usually I get a very wishy-washy answer like, yeah, we want to have installs, but we also want to have revenue. Okay, so what is more important for you, and at what stage are you comfortable to switching to another objective? So just have a very good understanding of what your current goal is, so in the short term, but also in the long term. Then you should think about what are the target customers that you want to attract through the app, and what actions will those users take. Just like Rebellion, is it a younger target audience, or is it maybe mid-age target audience? Is it men or women? How can you also adjust your creatives according to that? Then it's very important for you also to understand how many downloads per month do you need to reach, and also what do you expect. Last but not least, it's also important to understand what's the total budget that you have, so that, for example, if you break it down to daily budget, perhaps you can also be a little bit more flexible, that if you know that you are not gaining the volume of installs at the beginning, you can perhaps shift some of the budget from the rest of the month to the beginning of the month, and then adjust accordingly. And the last two questions are regarding the tracking provider. So we know now tracking is super, super important. And also, if you already identified certain challenges you're encountering with apps, whether it's not being able to create certain creatives from your side, whether you don't have any in-house capabilities to design images or videos, or also if you have any challenges regarding tracking, that you reach out to the right partner, just like ePPC, for example, that can help you to navigate through the app campaigns. And that is it from my side. I think, Karl, the last one is for you, just to give a shout out to the next webinar that's coming up. We'll be talking a little bit more about the optimization and bidding and budget part of Google App Campaigns.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Christa. So we have another webinar planned in 2 weeks' time at the same time. We are not going to use Zoho webinars again. So sorry again for the slow start we had today. So next time we're going to go straight into Google Hangouts. So for those who already registered for that that webinar, we're going to send out information on how you can join the Hangout instead. But if you do have any more questions, then I saw Marcus was already answering. So do write them out in the chat. The video will be available. Actually, I think the video